Naomi Brooks caught the crystal tray just before it crashed onto the marble floor. The young waiter gasped. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I slipped." Naomi grabbed the edge of the tray with both hands, steadying the glasses before a single one could break. A few drops of sparkling juice splashed onto her dark blue evening dress, but she smiled instead of complaining. "It's all right," she said softly. "Take a deep breath. Nobody got hurt." The young man's hands were shaking. "I thought I was going to lose my job." "You won't," Naomi replied. "Go get a clean towel. I'll stay here." Several wealthy guests had already turned to look. One woman rolled her eyes. "I knew they were hiring anyone these days." Another guest whispered loudly enough for Naomi to hear. "She doesn't even look like she belongs in a place like this." A man laughed. "I thought she was one of the kitchen workers." Naomi heard every word. She had heard words like that almost her entire life. She simply picked up a napkin and wiped the tray before handing it back to the waiter. "There you go." "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved me." Naomi nodded. "Go finish your work." If you're enjoying stories filled with suspense, emotion, unexpected twists, and unforgettable characters, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There are many more stories waiting for you, and you won't want to miss the next one. Naomi quietly walked toward the registration desk. The Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom was unlike anything she had seen in years. Huge crystal lights hung from the ceiling. Fresh flowers covered every table. Soft music floated through the room. Some of the richest people in the city were already arriving. Business leaders, government officials, international investors, famous entertainers, and a few guests whose names were never printed in newspapers. Naomi wasn't supposed to be here. 3 hours earlier, she had been sitting in her small apartment finishing translation work on her laptop when her phone rang. "Miss Brooks." "Yes. My name is Angela. I'm calling from Langford International Events." Naomi had recognized the company immediately. They organized some of the biggest business gatherings in the country. "Our Korean interpreter became very sick this afternoon." "I'm sorry to hear that. We were given your name by the Language Institute." Naomi paused. "I haven't worked a live event in almost a year." "We know. So why call me?" "Because everyone else said no." There had been an awkward silence. Then Angela spoke again. "We're desperate." Naomi had looked around her apartment. Bills sat on the kitchen table. Her rent was due. Her car needed repairs. Her freelance work had slowed down. She closed her eyes. "What time do you need me?" "In 2 hours. I'm on my way." Now she stood inside one of the most exclusive charity galas in the country, an event where almost everyone seemed to know someone important. Angela hurried toward her. "You made it." "I almost didn't. I'm just glad you're here." Angela handed Naomi a badge. It simply read, "Interpreter." "No last name?" Naomi asked. Angela forced a smile. "It's only for tonight." Naomi noticed the hesitation. "Is something wrong?" Angela looked around before lowering her voice. "Some of our VIP guests are particular." Naomi understood exactly what that meant. "They don't want people like me representing the event." Angela looked embarrassed. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Angela sighed. "I'm sorry." Naomi placed the badge around her neck. "It's fine." "No, it isn't." Naomi smiled gently. "But I'm still here." Before Angela could answer, a tall man wearing an expensive black suit approached. His silver name tag read, "Victor Langford, the host." Angela straightened immediately. "Mr. Langford." Victor barely acknowledged Naomi. "Is this the replacement?" "Yes." He looked Naomi up and down. Not with kindness. Not with curiosity. With disappointment. "She's all they could find?" Angela swallowed. "She's one of the best Korean interpreters available." Victor kept looking at Naomi. "I asked for someone who fits the image of this event." Naomi met his eyes calmly. "My language skills haven't changed because of how I look." Victor's jaw tightened. "This gala is about first impressions." Naomi answered quietly. "And good communication." Neither of them looked away. Finally, Victor turned toward Angela. "Keep her out of the photographs." Angela looked shocked. "Sir, I don't want unnecessary distractions." He walked away before anyone could answer. Angela whispered, "I'm so sorry." Naomi let out a slow breath. "I've had worse." Had she? She wasn't sure anymore. She had spent years earning degrees, years learning Korean, years studying business etiquette, years becoming one of the few interpreters who understood both formal language and everyday conversation. Yet somehow, people still noticed her body before they noticed her mind. She pushed the thought away. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to work. Across the ballroom, two elegantly dressed women watched Naomi. Who invited her? I heard she's just filling in. They couldn't find anyone else. I hope she isn't sitting near our table. Naomi pretended not to hear. A waiter passed by. Would you like some water, ma'am? Yes, thank you. As she reached for the glass, another woman stepped directly between them. I'll take that. The woman took the last glass from the tray without even looking at Naomi. The waiter looked embarrassed. I'll bring another. Naomi smiled. No rush. The waiter hurried away. One older gentleman had been watching everything from across the room. He quietly shook his head. Some people had forgotten what kindness looked like. A sudden hush spread across the ballroom. The musicians stopped playing. Guests began looking toward the grand entrance. One security officer spoke softly into his earpiece. He's here. Victor Langford hurried toward the entrance with several executives behind him. Politicians adjusted their jackets. Business leaders practiced their smiles. Photographers lifted their cameras. Someone whispered, "The Korean delegation has arrived." Another guest added, and their leader came in person. Naomi looked toward the entrance just as the massive doors opened. 6 security officers entered first. They moved with calm precision. Behind them walked a tall man in a perfectly tailored black suit. His expression revealed nothing. His eyes quietly studied every corner of the room. Kang Tae-hyun had arrived. The room seemed to hold its breath. Victor stepped forward with both hands open. "Mr. Kang, welcome. It is an honor to have you here." Several important guests moved closer, hoping to be noticed. But Tae-hyun never slowed. He walked past Victor, past the politicians, past the billionaires, past every person reaching out to greet him. Without saying a single word, he headed straight toward the one woman everyone else had been trying to ignore. Naomi looked behind her to see if someone else was standing there. There wasn't. When she turned back, Kang Tae-hyun had stopped only a few feet away, his calm eyes fixed on hers. The entire ballroom fell silent. Kang Tae-hyun stood quietly in front of Naomi. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Victor Langford forced a smile and hurried over. "Mr. Kang, I believe there has been a misunderstanding." Tae-hyun never looked at him. Instead, he spoke in calm Korean. "Have you been waiting long?" Naomi blinked. His Korean was polished but natural, spoken with the confidence of someone who expected to be understood. She answered in the same language. "No, sir. I arrived about 30 minutes ago." Several members of the Korean delegation looked surprised. One elderly executive smiled. "Her Korean is excellent." Another quietly nodded. "It sounds natural." Victor frowned. He could not understand a single word. What are they saying?" Nobody answered him. Tae-hyun asked another question. "Where did you study?" "I spent 4 years studying Korean language and business communication. I continued learning after I returned home." "You learned well." "Thank you." He gave a slight nod. "I rarely say those words." Naomi smiled politely. "I'll take them as a great honor." For the first time that evening, a faint smile appeared on Tae-hyun's face. It disappeared almost as quickly as it came. He turned to Victor. "I would like Miss Brooks to serve as my interpreter throughout tonight's meetings." Victor's smile froze. "I'm afraid that won't be possible." Tae-hyun slowly looked at him. "And why not? We already arranged another interpreter." "I have changed the arrangement." Victor forced a laugh. "Our interpreter is highly respected." "I'm sure she is." "She has worked with ambassadors." "I'm sure she has." Victor's voice became tighter. "So why replace her?" Tae-hyun answered without raising his voice. "Because I choose competence." The room became even quieter. Victor's face turned red. Angela lowered her head to hide her smile. At that moment, a tall woman wearing an expensive white evening gown approached them. She carried herself with confidence. "I'm Elena Rossi," she said warmly. "I've been assigned to interpret for your delegation." Tae-hyun gave a polite nod. "Good evening." She extended her hand. "I've interpreted international meetings for over 12 years. I'm aware. I've also translated for several presidents." "I'm aware." She smiled. "Then I'm sure we'll work very well together." Tae-hyun calmly replied. "No." The smile faded from her face. "I beg your pardon. Miss Brooks will interpret for me." Elena glanced toward Naomi. Her eyes quickly measured every part of her. "You must be joking." Naomi quietly answered. "I don't believe he is." Elena folded her arms. "You've handled events like this before?" A few. Enough." Elena laughed softly. "International negotiations are not classroom exercises." Naomi remained calm. "I agree. They require experience." "They do. They require precision." "They certainly do." Elena leaned a little closer. "And pressure." Naomi met her eyes. I work well under pressure. Before Elena could respond, Taehyun spoke. We are wasting time. He looked toward Naomi. Please come with us. Naomi nodded. Of course. As they walked toward a private conference room, whispers spread across the ballroom. Who is she? Why did he choose her? I've never seen him ignore a host before. Victor clenched his jaw. This woman is becoming a problem. Inside the conference room sat executives from several countries. Large folders covered the polished table. Digital screens displayed maps of shipping routes across Asia, Europe, Africa, and North America. Naomi quickly understood. This was much bigger than a charity gala. The charity event was only a public cover. The real purpose was an international business agreement worth billions of dollars. Taehyun took his seat. He looked toward Naomi. Please sit beside me. She did. Victor watched with growing frustration. The meeting began. A Japanese executive welcomed everyone. Naomi smoothly translated every word into Korean. A Korean director responded. She translated back into English without hesitation. The conversation flowed naturally. One executive quietly whispered, "She's very good." Another answered, "Better than good." For almost 20 minutes, everything moved peacefully. Then Naomi noticed something. Elena had joined the translation team for another group at the far end of the table. A French investor spoke calmly. Elena translated his words into Korean. Naomi frowned. That wasn't what he had said. Not even close. The French investor had said, "We hope this partnership creates trust." But Elena translated, "They expect complete control." Several Korean executives exchanged uneasy looks. Naomi's heart beat faster. Was it a mistake? Or was it intentional? She listened again. Another executive spoke. Again, Elena changed the meaning. Small changes. Only a few words. But each change made the discussion sound colder. More aggressive. More insulting. Naomi slowly raised her hand. "Excuse me." The room looked toward her. She spoke gently. "I believe there has been a translation error." Elena turned immediately. "There has not." Naomi kept her voice respectful. The original statement was about cooperation. Elena smiled. "That's one interpretation." "No." Naomi shook her head. The wording was very clear. Elena's smile disappeared. "I've translated for 12 years. Naomi answered quietly. "And language still deserves accuracy." Silence. Every eye moved toward Taehyun. He calmly looked at Naomi. What did the speaker actually say? Naomi repeated the exact sentence in Korean. One elderly Korean executive nodded immediately. "That is correct." Another added, "I heard the same thing." Elena's face tightened. "It was a minor difference." Naomi answered, "A minor difference can end a major agreement." No one spoke. The atmosphere inside the room changed. Taehyun folded his hands. His expression remained calm. But Naomi noticed something in his eyes. He was no longer simply listening. He was watching. Watching everyone. Especially Elena. The meeting continued. Half an hour later, there was a short break. Executives walked toward the refreshment tables. Naomi stepped into a nearby hallway to get a glass of water. She finally allowed herself one slow breath. "You embarrassed me." The voice came from around the corner. "Elena." Another man answered in Korean. "You were told not to make obvious mistakes." Naomi stopped walking. Her heart skipped. The man continued. "The first misunderstanding should have been enough." Elena whispered angrily. "She wasn't supposed to be here." "I know. I can fix this." "You'd better." Naomi slowly moved closer, staying out of sight. The man spoke again. "If the agreement is signed tonight, everything we've planned falls apart." Naomi's eyes widened. This wasn't about professional jealousy. It was something much darker. Elena asked quietly, "What about Kang Taehyun?" The man answered without emotion. "He won't leave this hotel alive." Naomi froze. She could hardly breathe. An assassination. Planned for tonight. Just then, her phone slipped from her hand. It hit the polished floor with a sharp crack. The voices behind the corner stopped instantly. Then she heard one chilling sentence. "Someone's listening." Naomi's heart pounded so hard she thought they could hear it through the wall. Her phone lay on the polished floor only a few feet away. For one terrifying second, nobody moved. Then the man's voice came again, cold and steady. "Find out who dropped that phone." Heavy footsteps rushed toward the corner. Naomi reacted without thinking. She picked up her phone, turned, and hurried down the hallway. She forced herself not to run. Running would only confirm she had heard something. Behind her, another voice called out, "Miss?" "Excuse me." She kept walking. A hotel employee stepped out of a nearby service room. "Ma'am, are you looking for the ballroom?" Naomi smiled, though every part of her wanted to panic. "Yes." Thank you. She changed direction naturally and followed the employee. When she looked back, two men in black suits had reached the hallway she had just left. One of them was the man whose voice she had heard. Their eyes swept across the corridor. For one frightening moment, one of them looked directly at her. Naomi quickly looked away and kept walking. Easy, she whispered to herself. Just keep walking. She returned to the conference room a few minutes later. The negotiations had not resumed yet. Executives were chatting in small groups. Victor Langford was laughing with several investors as if nothing in the world was wrong. Naomi's mind raced. Should she tell someone? Who could she trust? If Victor was involved, speaking to the wrong person could get her killed before the night was over. She looked toward Kang Taehyun. He was standing near the large windows with two members of his security team. His calm expression had not changed since he entered the hotel. One security officer leaned close to him. Taehyun listened without interrupting. Then he quietly gave an instruction. The officer nodded and walked away. Naomi took one slow breath. I have to tell him. She started walking toward him. Before she reached him, Victor suddenly stepped into her path. There you are. His smile looked friendly. His eyes did not. I've been looking for you. Is something wrong? I wanted to thank you. Naomi blinked. For what? For correcting Elena. His smile grew wider. It showed confidence. I only corrected the translation. Exactly. He lowered his voice. Still, confidence can become pride. Naomi remained silent. Victor looked around before speaking again. People who are invited at the last minute usually try not to attract attention. I wasn't trying to. I hope not. His words sounded polite. His meaning was anything but polite. Naomi answered calmly. My responsibility is accuracy. Victor leaned a little closer. And mine is protecting this event. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, neither spoke. Then Victor smiled again. Enjoy the evening. He walked away. Naomi watched him disappear into the crowd. He's hiding something, she whispered. What is he hiding? Miss Brooks. She turned. Taehyun was standing only a few feet away. I'd like a word. Of course. He led her toward a quieter corner near the windows. His security officers remained several steps behind. He spoke softly. You seem troubled. Naomi hesitated. You've been distracted since the break. She looked into his calm eyes. Something about him made lying impossible. I heard something. What did you hear? She glanced around. There are too many people. Without another word, Taehyun motioned toward one of his security officers. The man immediately closed the nearby doors. The hallway became almost empty. You may speak. Naomi lowered her voice. I overheard two people speaking Korean. His expression remained unreadable. They didn't know anyone else could understand them. What did they say? She swallowed. They were discussing the negotiations. And they said the agreement must not be signed. Taehyun nodded slowly. Continue. They also mentioned you. For the first time, one of his security officers shifted his weight. Taehyun remained perfectly still. What exactly did they say? Naomi repeated the sentence exactly as she had heard it. He won't leave this hotel alive. Silence. Even the air seemed heavy. One security officer immediately reached for the small radio hidden beneath his jacket. Taehyun lifted one finger. The officer stopped. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Taehyun asked, Are you certain? I am. You understood every word. Yes. He looked directly into her eyes. I need the exact voices. I recognized one. Who? Elena. The security officers exchanged quick looks. One finally spoke. Sir. Taehyun raised his hand again. The man fell silent. Taehyun turned back to Naomi. You have just made a serious accusation. I know. If you're mistaken. I'm not. If you're telling the truth. She finished his sentence quietly. Then someone plans to kill you tonight. Another long silence followed. Finally, Taehyun gave an unexpected smile. It was small, almost invisible. You didn't hesitate. I couldn't. You barely know me. I don't need to know someone before trying to save a life. His eyes rested on her for several seconds. Then he nodded once. I believe you. Naomi looked surprised. You do? Yes. You didn't even question me. I already had questions before you spoke. She frowned. What do you mean? He glanced toward the conference room. I noticed unusual behavior before the meeting began. You suspected something? I never attend important meetings without expecting danger. Naomi slowly let out the breath she had been holding. So what happens now? We continue. She stared at him. Continue. As though nothing has changed. They're planning to kill you. I know. You don't sound worried. I've lived with danger for many years. His calmness almost frustrated her. But this is different. Perhaps. They could attack at any moment. They could. Naomi shook her head. I don't understand how you can be so calm. Taehyun looked toward the ballroom. When frightened people panic, they become predictable. And you? I prefer not to help my enemies. Before Naomi could answer, one of his security officers approached. Sir, what is it? The next session begins in 3 minutes. Taehyun nodded. Good. The officer hesitated. Should we cancel? No. Increase security? Quietly. Yes, sir. The officer walked away. Naomi looked at Taehyun. You already have a plan. I have several. You trust your team. I do. He paused before adding. And tonight, I also trust my interpreter. Those words settled deeply in Naomi's heart. For the first time that evening, someone had looked beyond her appearance and recognized her ability. Before they could return to the conference room, Angela came running toward them, her face pale. Mr. Kong. Miss Brooks. What happened? Naomi asked. Angela struggled to catch her breath. Hotel security just found something inside the banquet hall. Taehyun's eyes narrowed. What did they find? Angela's voice trembled. A server, unconscious, inside the main kitchen. Naomi felt a chill run down her spine. Angela whispered the next words. And his security badge is missing. Naomi felt the color drain from her face. A security badge? She asked. Angela nodded quickly. The kitchen manager found one of the servers tied up inside the storage room. He's alive, but someone took his uniform and his badge. Taehyun's expression remained calm. How long ago? Maybe 15 minutes. One of his security officers stepped closer. Sir, that means someone can move freely through the hotel. Taehyun answered without raising his voice. They already have. The officer immediately spoke into his hidden radio. Lock every service entrance. Verify every security badge. Nobody moves without confirmation. Several members of the team quietly spread through the ballroom. Most guests never noticed. The soft music continued. Champagne glasses still clinked together. People laughed. They had no idea danger was already inside the building. Naomi looked toward the crowded ballroom. They're hiding among the guests. Taehyun nodded. Most likely. Victor Langford suddenly appeared, wearing the same pleasant smile he always wore. There you are. His eyes moved from Taehyun to Naomi. The next round of discussions is ready. Taehyun looked at him. So soon. Victor laughed softly. Our investors are eager. Taehyun answered. Good. Victor noticed the security officers quietly moving around the ballroom. Everything all right? Everything is fine. Victor smiled. I'm glad to hear that. His eyes briefly settled on Naomi. I hope our interpreter is feeling more comfortable now. Naomi returned a polite smile. I'm here to do my work. I hope nothing has distracted you. No. Victor's smile became slightly wider. Excellent. He walked away. Naomi watched him disappear into the crowd. He knows something. Taehyun replied quietly. I believe he does. You still plan to attend the meeting? Yes. But why? Because frightened people make mistakes. She looked at him. And guilty people. They make even bigger mistakes. Minutes later, everyone returned to the conference room. The negotiations resumed. Naomi translated carefully, paying close attention to every word. Every sentence mattered. Every pause mattered. Across the table, Elena avoided looking at her. That alone told Naomi something had changed. She had expected confidence. Instead, she saw tension. Almost fear. Half an hour passed. Then one Korean executive presented a revised shipping agreement. Naomi translated every sentence into English. An American investor nodded. This version protects every partner. Naomi translated his response. Before anyone else spoke, Elena interrupted. That isn't what he meant. Naomi looked toward her. I'm sorry. He actually said the proposal still favors the Korean side. Naomi frowned. No. Elena folded her arms. That's exactly what he said. The American investor looked confused. I never said that. Naomi translated his words. The room became quiet. Taehyun slowly turned toward Elena. Would you repeat your translation? She hesitated. Then she repeated it. Taehyun calmly looked toward the American investor. Would you kindly repeat your statement? The man did. Naomi translated again. One by one, several bilingual executives confirmed Naomi's version. Not Elena's. Victor immediately spoke. It was probably just an honest mistake. Naomi looked at Elena. This was the second major mistake. Both mistakes benefited the same people. That could not be an accident. Taehyun closed the folder in front of him. I suggest we take another short break. Everyone agreed. As the room slowly emptied, Elena hurried toward the exit. Naomi noticed. So does he, she thought. Taehyun quietly nodded toward one of his security officers. The officer followed Elena from a distance. No one else seemed to notice. Naomi leaned closer. You think she'll lead him to the others? I hope so. What if she realizes she's being followed? Then she'll become desperate. Naomi lowered her voice. Desperate people are dangerous. They are. Before she could say another word, another security officer entered the room. His face was serious. Sir, what is it? We searched this service hallway. And we found this. He placed a small black device on the conference table. Naomi looked closer. It was no larger than a deck of cards. What is it? She asked. The officer answered quietly. A signal jammer. Naomi frowned. What does it do? It blocks radio communication. She immediately understood. If your team can't communicate, they can't protect me properly. The officer nodded. We've already found 2 more. Taehyun looked at the device. Professional work. Very. Naomi whispered. This attack has been planned for a long time. It has. Just then another officer rushed inside. He looked even more concerned. Sir, we have another problem. What now? The officer following Elena has disappeared. The room became silent. What do you mean disappeared? Naomi asked. He reported entering the lower hallway. And then, nothing. No radio. No phone. No response. Taehyun stood. Show me. They quickly moved into the hallway. The hotel looked peaceful. Guests continued enjoying the gala. A string quartet played beautiful music. Nobody suspected anything. The officer led them downstairs toward the service corridor. The lights were dimmer there. The music from the ballroom sounded far away. They reached a narrow hallway. One flashlight lay on the floor. Beside it was a small earpiece. Naomi recognized it immediately. It belongs to your officer. The security captain nodded. It does. Another officer pointed ahead. The door is open. Everyone slowly approached. The storage room was dark. The captain switched on his flashlight. Its beams swept across shelves, cleaning supplies, and empty boxes. Then it stopped. Naomi covered her mouth. One of Taehyun's security officers was lying on the floor with his hands tied behind his back. A strip of tape covered his mouth. He was alive, barely conscious. The captain rushed forward and removed the tape. The injured officer struggled to speak. They knew. Who? The captain asked. The woman. Elena. He nodded weakly. She wasn't alone. How many? I counted. He coughed. At least 6. The captain's face hardened. They've already infiltrated the hotel. The injured officer grabbed Taehyun's sleeve with surprising strength. His voice was barely above a whisper. They're changing the plan. Taehyun leaned closer. What plan? The officer swallowed painfully. They're not waiting until midnight anymore. Naomi's heartbeat thundered in her ears. The officer forced out one final sentence before losing consciousness. They're going to strike during the charity toast. If you're enjoying this story and want more suspense, powerful twists, and unforgettable characters, this is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps the channel grow and ensures you never miss the next story. The charity toast was scheduled to begin in less than 20 minutes. Naomi felt every beat of her heart as the words echoed inside her mind. They're going to strike during the charity toast. The injured officer lost consciousness. The captain immediately called for medical help. Get him to the hotel doctor. Quietly. I don't want the guests to know anything. 2 officers carefully lifted the injured man and carried him away. Naomi looked at Taehyun. We have less than 20 minutes. I know. We should cancel the toast. No. She looked at him in disbelief. No. If we cancel it now, they'll disappear. But they'll try to kill you. They'll try whether I stand on that stage or not. Naomi shook her head. I don't like this. You don't have to. I don't understand you. A faint smile crossed his face. You're not the first person to say that. She folded her arms. You speak as if your life doesn't matter. My life matters. Then why keep walking into danger? Because sometimes danger follows you wherever you go. If you spend your life running, eventually you stop living. Naomi sighed. I still think this is a terrible idea. Your opinion has been noted. She almost laughed. That's all. What else would you like me to say? I'd like you to say we're leaving. I'm afraid I can't. The security captain returned. Sir, every exit is covered. Good. We've also informed local authorities. They'll take too long. I'm aware. Taehyun turned toward Naomi. I need one more favor. What is it? Stay close to me. She blinked. You trust me that much? I do. After only a few hours? I've watched how you treat people. She looked surprised. You noticed? I noticed you saved a waiter from losing his job. Naomi smiled faintly. That wasn't a big deal. I also noticed you thanked every member of the hotel staff. They were helping. And when people insulted you, she lowered her eyes. You remained calm. I've had practice. He nodded slowly. Character reveals itself under pressure. She looked back at him. So that's why you chose me. It began with your language skills. And now I know who you are. Before Naomi could answer, Angela hurried toward them again. She looked terrified. Miss Brooks. What happened? I can't find Victor. Naomi frowned. What do you mean? He disappeared. The security captain immediately looked toward Taehyun. Sir. Taehyun answered calmly. Find him. Already searching. Angela continued. His assistant says he left 5 minutes ago. Did he say where he was going? No. Naomi's mind raced. He's meeting them. Taehyun nodded once. I believe so. The captain spoke into his radio. Locate Victor Langford immediately. Several officers spread through the hotel. Naomi looked toward the ballroom doors. Music was still playing. Guests continued laughing. Some were taking photographs. Others admired the decorations. None of them knew they were standing in the middle of a deadly conspiracy. A voice suddenly came over the captain's radio. We've located Elena. Where? Third floor balcony. Is she alone? A brief pause followed. Negative. Who is with her? We believe Victor Langford. Naomi stepped closer. What are they doing? The radio crackled again. They appear to be arguing. Taehyun looked at the captain. Bring them in. Before the captain could answer, another voice interrupted on the radio. Shots fired. Everyone froze. The next words came fast. Repeat, shots fired. The captain grabbed his radio. Report. We lost visual. Officer down. Negative. What happened? Victor Langford is running. And Elena? Another pause. Then came the answer. Elena Rossi has been shot. Naomi gasped. What? The captain looked at Taehyun. Orders, sir? Taehyun answered immediately. Secure Elena alive. And Victor? He'll make mistakes if he believes we're chasing him. The captain understood. You think someone else gave the order? I do. Naomi looked confused. You don't think Victor pulled the trigger? No. Why not? Because frightened partners silence each other. She slowly understood. So someone wanted Elena dead before she could talk. Exactly. The captain hurried away with several officers. Naomi turned back to Taehyun. This keeps getting worse. It isn't over. What do you mean? He looked toward the ballroom. The charity toast is still beginning in 15 minutes. You still intend to go? Yes. She closed her eyes for a moment. When this night is over, remind me never to accept another last-minute interpreting job. For the first time all evening, Taehyun gave a quiet laugh. I'll remember. Their brief moment of relief disappeared when another officer came running toward them. His breathing was heavy. Sir, what now? We searched Victor Langford's private office. And we found documents. What kind? Blueprints. Naomi frowned. Blueprints of what? The hotel. The officer handed the folder to Taehyun. Inside were detailed maps of every hallway, every service tunnel, every emergency exit, and every electrical room. Certain locations were marked with red circles. Naomi's stomach tightened. This wasn't planned for tonight. No, Taehyun said quietly as he studied the pages. This has been planned for months. Then he turned one page. His calm expression changed for the first time that night. Naomi noticed it immediately. What is it? Without answering, he handed her the blueprint. A large red circle surrounded the grand ballroom stage, the exact place where he would be standing in less than 15 minutes. Naomi felt a chill race through her body as she looked at the blueprint. The red circle covered the entire stage. Not just the podium. Not just the microphone. The entire stage. She looked up at Taehyun. This isn't an attack on one person. No, it's an attack on everyone standing there. He nodded once. They planned for witnesses. Naomi looked closer at the blueprint. Several small markings appeared beneath the stage. What are these? The security captain returned just in time to answer. They're support beams. Naomi frowned. And the red marks? The captain's face grew serious. They're possible places to hide explosives. The words settled like a heavy weight. Naomi slowly looked toward the ballroom doors. There are more than 300 people inside. There are. We have to clear the room. Taehyun remained silent for several seconds. Then he said, Not yet. Naomi stared at him. Not yet. If we evacuate now, The people behind this may trigger the attack another way. But innocent people. I know. His voice remained calm, but Naomi noticed something different. He carried the burden of every decision. She took a deep breath. Tell me your plan. We quietly search the stage. And if we find something, we remove it. And if we don't, we continue searching. The captain immediately selected 4 officers. No uniforms, Tae-hyun instructed. They'll attract attention. Understood. The officers disappeared into the ballroom through different entrances. Naomi stood beside Tae-hyun. I still don't like this. I know. You always say that. Because it's usually true. Despite everything, Naomi smiled. You really don't waste words. My grandfather used to say that too many words hide too little wisdom. She nodded. I think I would have liked him. I believe he would have liked you. Before she could reply, Angela came running again. Her face was pale. Miss Brooks. What happened now? The master of ceremonies is asking for everyone. Naomi looked at the clock. The charity toast would begin in less than 10 minutes. Guests were already moving toward the ballroom. Music became louder. People carried glasses filled with sparkling juice and wine. Photographers adjusted their cameras. Television crews prepared for live coverage. Naomi whispered, everything looks so normal. Tae-hyun answered quietly. That is what makes danger dangerous. As they entered the ballroom, applause filled the room. Victor Langford was nowhere to be seen. Guests assumed he was making final preparations. Only a handful of people knew he had disappeared. The master of ceremonies stepped onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this special evening. More applause followed. Naomi looked toward the stage. Nothing looked unusual. Fresh flowers surrounded the podium. Large banners hung behind it. Everything appeared perfect. Almost too perfect. One security officer casually walked near the front of the stage. Another pretended to adjust lighting equipment. A third examined the sound cables. They searched without drawing attention. Naomi watched them carefully. Then she noticed something. A man wearing a photographer's vest. He wasn't taking photographs. He was watching Tae-hyun. She leaned closer. The photographer. Tae-hyun followed her eyes without moving his head. I see him. He hasn't taken a single picture. I noticed. The man slowly reached into his camera bag. Naomi's breathing became faster. What is he doing? I don't know. The security captain quietly signaled 2 officers. They moved through the crowd. The photographer noticed them. His eyes widened. He immediately turned and pushed through the guests. The captain shouted, "Stop him." The man ran. People screamed as chairs tipped over. Glasses shattered across the floor. The photographer shoved guests aside, racing toward a side exit. 2 officers chased him. Naomi instinctively stepped forward. Tae-hyun gently caught her arm. No. They need help. They have it. A loud crash echoed from the hallway. Then silence. Everyone in the ballroom froze. Guests looked around in confusion. The master of ceremonies forced a nervous smile. It appears we have a small interruption. His words were cut short. One of Tae-hyun's officers ran back into the ballroom. His face was tense. Captain, what happened? The suspect is dead. Naomi gasped. Dead? He bit into a poison capsule before we could question him. The captain closed his eyes briefly. Professional. Naomi whispered. Who are these people? Before anyone could answer, another officer rushed in from the opposite side. Captain, what now? We found something beneath the stage. Every muscle in Naomi's body tightened. What is it? A device. The captain hurried forward. What kind of device? We're not sure. Can it be removed? We haven't touched it. Tae-hyun immediately walked toward the stage. Naomi followed. The captain lifted part of the stage covering. Hidden beneath the wooden platform sat a black metal box. Several wires disappeared into the support beams. A small digital screen glowed with red numbers. Naomi's voice trembled. Is that a bomb? The captain looked carefully. I believe it is. Can you stop it? I don't know yet. The countdown on the screen continued moving. 9 minutes. 42 seconds. Naomi looked at the growing crowd. No one else had noticed. Children laughed near the back of the ballroom. Couples smiled for photographs. Volunteers arranged donation envelopes. They had no idea they were standing above deadly danger. The captain looked at Tae-hyun. Sir, we need to evacuate now. Before Tae-hyun could answer, the black box suddenly made a sharp electronic sound. Every officer looked at it. The countdown disappeared. A new message appeared across the small screen. It read, "Too late." The words on the small screen froze everyone in place. Too late. Naomi felt her knees weaken. The security captain dropped to one knee beside the device. "Nobody touch it," he said. One officer quickly shined a flashlight beneath the stage. "I don't see a pressure switch." Another leaned closer. "There are too many wires." The captain took a slow breath. "This isn't homemade." "No," Taehyun replied. "It was built by someone who knew exactly what they were doing." Naomi looked at the countdown screen. "There isn't any timer now." The captain nodded. "That worries me more." "Why?" "Because it may no longer depend on time." Naomi swallowed. "You mean, it may be waiting for a remote signal?" Those words sent another wave of fear through her. If that's true, anyone in this ballroom could trigger it. The captain stood. "We can't risk it any longer." Taehyun finally nodded. "Begin the evacuation." Without hesitation, the captain spoke into his radio. Phase 1. Quiet evacuation. Several officers immediately moved through the ballroom. Instead of shouting, they approached guests table by table. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a technical issue. We'd appreciate your help moving into the garden for a few minutes." Some guests looked confused. Others complained. One wealthy businessman frowned. "I donated $500,000 for this event." An officer answered politely. "And we appreciate your generosity, sir. Please come this way." Across the room, Naomi noticed one man refusing to leave. He wore a gray suit. His eyes stayed fixed on the stage. He wasn't arguing. He wasn't asking questions. He was simply waiting. She quietly touched Taehyun's arm. "The man near the front." Taehyun followed her eyes. "I see him. He isn't moving. Neither are his hands." The man's right hand remained inside his jacket pocket. Naomi whispered, "I don't think he's a guest." The captain noticed him too. Two officers slowly approached. The man smiled. It was not the smile of someone surprised. It was the smile of someone expecting this moment. One officer spoke calmly. "Sir, we'll need you to step outside." The man slowly removed his hand from his pocket. He was holding a small black remote. Naomi's heart nearly stopped. The remote. The officer lunged. The man pressed the button. Everyone instinctively ducked. Nothing happened. The man frowned. He pressed it again. Still nothing. Confusion flashed across his face. The captain tackled him to the floor. Three officers rushed in to help. The remote slid across the marble floor and stopped near Naomi's shoes. She quickly picked it up. "It's off," she said. The captain looked up. "No." He pointed toward the stage. "The signal jammer." Naomi immediately understood. The jamming device they had found earlier. It wasn't only blocking security radios. It had also blocked the bomb signal. The attacker had unknowingly defeated his own plan. The man on the floor suddenly laughed. Even with three officers holding him down, he laughed. "You think you've won?" Nobody answered. He looked directly at Taehyun. "My boss planned for failure." The captain tightened his grip. "Who is your boss?" The man smiled. "You'll meet him soon." Before anyone could stop him, he bit down hard. The captain grabbed his jaw. No, it was too late. Foam appeared at the corner of the man's mouth. Within seconds, he stopped moving. Naomi stepped back in horror. He poisoned himself. The captain slowly stood. Another professional. Taehyun looked toward the ballroom entrance. He wasn't the leader. No, he was buying time. Naomi's eyes widened. For what? Before anyone could answer, loud applause echoed from outside. Everyone turned. Guests who had already reached the garden were clapping. Angela ran inside. "Mr. Kong, what happened? A man just arrived." "What man?" "He says he's the chairman of the charity foundation." Naomi frowned. "I thought Victor was the chairman." "So did I," Angela answered. The ballroom doors opened. An elderly gentleman entered, supported by a polished wooden cane. His silver hair was neatly combed. His suit was simple but elegant. People stepped aside as he walked. He looked around the room. His eyes settled on Taehyun. "So," his calm voice carried through the silent ballroom. "You survived." Naomi instantly felt something was wrong. The old man wasn't surprised. He almost sounded disappointed. Taehyun's expression hardened. "You've finally shown yourself." The old man smiled. "I had to see whether you still deserved your grandfather's name." Naomi looked from one man to the other. "You know him?" Taehyun answered without taking his eyes off the stranger. "Unfortunately." The old man chuckled. "My name is Han Song-woo." Several members of the Korean delegation gasped. One executive whispered, "I thought he was dead." Han heard him. Many people did. He slowly walked closer. "I built part of the organization with Taehyun's grandfather." Naomi could feel the tension rising. "Then why all this?" she asked. Han turned toward her. His eyes were sharp despite his age. "Because the organization has become weak." Taehyun answered firmly. No, it has. You mistake mercy for weakness. Han laughed. And you mistake kindness for leadership. He pointed his cane toward Naomi. You even trust strangers. Taehyun replied without hesitation. I trust people who earn it. Han smiled. A dangerous habit. Before anyone moved, Han lifted the cane slightly. A tiny red light flashed near the handle. The security captain shouted. Down! A hidden blade shot from the end of the cane. It flew across the ballroom like an arrow. Taehyun pushed Naomi aside. The blade missed her by inches and struck a marble column behind them. Guests screamed. Officers rushed forward. Han calmly raised both hands. I didn't come here to fight. The captain kept his weapon trained on him. Then why come? Han looked directly at Taehyun. I came to give you one final lesson. He slowly smiled. The bomb beneath the stage. Naomi held her breath. Han's smile widened. Was never the real bomb. Silence swallowed the room. Every officer looked at the stage. Then back at Han. Naomi felt her stomach tighten. If that wasn't the real bomb. She whispered. Then where is it? The question hung in the air. If that wasn't the real bomb. Then where is it? Han Sung-woo looked around the ballroom. His smile never faded. You've all been looking in the wrong place. The security captain immediately shouted into his radio. Search every room. Every hallway. Every vehicle. Move. Officers rushed in every direction. Guests who had already reached the garden began to panic as more security personnel surrounded the hotel. Naomi watched Han carefully. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't trying to escape. He was waiting. Taehyun stepped closer. You wanted me distracted. Han nodded. Of course. So the device beneath the stage was only bait. Exactly. Naomi's mind raced. She remembered every strange thing she had seen that evening. The missing security badge. The stolen uniform. The fake photographer. The signal jammer. Victor's blueprints. Then something clicked. She looked toward the enormous crystal chandelier hanging above the center of the ballroom. Her eyes widened. The chandelier. Everyone turned to look. Naomi pointed upward. No one searched above us. The security captain immediately raised his flashlight. The bright beam swept across the ceiling. Then it stopped. A black metal case had been strapped inside the center of the chandelier. Several wires disappeared behind the decorative crystals. The captain's face turned pale. There it is. The ballroom became completely silent. One officer whispered, My goodness. The captain looked at his team. Get the bomb unit here now. Han laughed softly. They won't make it. Naomi looked up again. There has to be another way. She noticed one thin cable running from the chandelier into the lighting control room above the balcony. She turned toward Angela. Where does that door lead? Angela pointed toward a narrow staircase. It goes to the lighting controls. Naomi looked at Taehyun. If we can disconnect the power before the signal reaches it. The captain interrupted. That may stop the trigger. Taehyun nodded. We're going. The captain shook his head. It's too dangerous. Taehyun answered calmly. So is doing nothing. Naomi spoke before anyone else could. I'm coming. No. The captain replied. You need me. Taehyun looked at her. He's right. She met his eyes. I'm the one who noticed it. You've already done enough. No. Her voice became stronger. I won't stand here while other people risk their lives. For one long moment, Taehyun said nothing. Then he nodded once. Stay beside me. They hurried up the narrow staircase with 2 security officers behind them. The lighting room was dark except for blinking control panels. Cables covered the walls. Naomi quickly searched every corner. There. A thick bundle of wires disappeared through a small opening toward the chandelier. The captain examined them. 3 main cables. Which one? I don't know. Naomi closed her eyes for a second. She remembered the blueprint. The red markings. The route beneath the stage had been a distraction. The real route. She opened her eyes. The blue cable. The captain frowned. Why? The blueprint marked the emergency lighting circuit. He looked again. You're right. He carefully reached for the blue cable. Everyone held their breath. The captain counted slowly. 3, 2, 1. He cut the cable. Every light in the ballroom went out. A few frightened screams echoed below. Emergency lights came on a second later. The captain looked through the small inspection window toward the chandelier. The blinking red light had disappeared. He smiled for the first time that evening. It worked. Naomi let out a long breath she didn't realize she had been holding. We did it. Just then a loud crash came from behind them. Han had escaped the officers guarding the staircase. He burst into the control room holding a small handgun. Nobody moved. The room froze. His eyes burned with anger. You've ruined everything. Taehyun stepped in front of Naomi. Han aimed the weapon directly at him. This organization was built by strong men. Taehyun answered quietly. It was built by honorable men. They ruled through fear. They earned loyalty. Han laughed bitterly. Loyalty dies. No. It grows when people are treated with respect. Han tightened his grip. You sound just like your grandfather. I hope so. Han's hand trembled. For the first time, Naomi saw uncertainty in his eyes. She gently spoke. It doesn't have to end this way. Han looked at her. You know nothing about my life. I know people still have choices. He laughed without joy. Not after everything I've done. You can still choose now. The room fell silent. Han slowly lowered the gun. Tears filled his eyes. I lost my way a long time ago. Before anyone could answer, footsteps thundered up the stairs. Police officers rushed into the room. Drop the weapon. Han looked one final time at Taehyun. I failed your grandfather. He carefully placed the gun on the floor and raised both hands. The officers took him into custody without another struggle. Minutes later, the bomb disposal team safely removed the explosive device from the chandelier. The hotel was declared secure. Guests slowly returned to the ballroom. Many had tears in their eyes after learning how close they had come to disaster. Victor Langford was arrested while trying to flee the city. Investigators uncovered years of fraud, bribery, and conspiracy. Elena survived her gunshot wound and later agreed to testify, helping authorities expose the entire criminal network. As the evening finally came to a close, the master of ceremonies stepped onto a small platform. Ladies and gentlemen, before we leave tonight, there is someone who deserves our gratitude. He looked toward Naomi. If not for Miss Naomi Brooks, many of us would not be standing here today. The ballroom erupted in applause. Several of the same guests who had ignored her earlier walked forward. One woman lowered her head. I judged you before I knew you. I'm sorry. Another man quietly added. I did the same. Naomi smiled gently. I hope tonight reminds us all to look at a person's character before we judge their appearance. More applause followed. Taehyun stepped beside her. He spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. Many people saw a plus-size woman and decided she did not belong. He paused. I saw a woman of wisdom, courage, and integrity. The room rose to its feet. It was the loudest applause of the night. Taehyun turned to Naomi. Our international foundation needs someone who values truth more than comfort. He smiled warmly. I would be honored if you would become our chief interpreter and cultural advisor. Naomi felt tears gather in her eyes. She smiled. I accept. As they walked toward the hotel entrance, the first light of morning appeared on the horizon. The fear of the night had given way to hope. Naomi looked at Taehyun. I almost said no when they called me this afternoon. He smiled. I'm very glad you answered. So am I. Sometimes a single decision changes an ordinary day into the beginning of an extraordinary life. And sometimes, the people the world is quickest to overlook become the very ones who save it. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who loves powerful stories about courage, respect, and unexpected heroes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.